Ah, American Idiot. The mere sound of that song probably brings all of us back to some awkward period. For me, it recalls images of orchestra class where I pretended to know who the Sex Pistols were in order to impress the kids who were already in a rock band having sex. This was the time of Green Day. The girls in my school all had crushes on Billy Joe Armstrong, and all the guys in my school could list off every single lyric of Letterbomb and give me Novocaine. Green Day was on top of the world in 2005. The album American Idiot had just won the Grammy Award for Best Rock Album, won a bunch of MTV Music Awards, and had sparked an enormous worldwide tour. But just what made this album so incredibly successful? How did it resonate with the American populace of its time, particularly those who, like me, were coming of age? In this video, we analyze how and why American Idiot became a modern-day classic, how Green Day was able to catch the spirit of its time. This is We Like Stories. I'm your narrator, Casey, and if you like what we do here, please subscribe. We have a lot of videos in the future about art, literature, music, anything that you can make narratives out of. This video is going to explore the political and social commentary of American Idiot, but it's such an enormous and sophisticated album that we, for the sake of time, have to cut down to an analysis of a few songs. The two most explicitly political songs on the album, American Idiot and Holiday, the song with the most interesting music video, Wake Me Up When September Ends, and also Homecoming, which both serves as the essential culmination of the album's rock opera narrative, and is in my mind, the most unacknowledged masterpiece on the entire album. You don't need me to tell you the major events that were occurring in the United States when the album was released in 2004. It was a time of reckoning in the midst of an ultimately successful George Bush re-election campaign. We were only 3 years removed from 9/11. The subsequent US invasion of Afghanistan, along with the invasion of Iraq in 2003, are all events that remain at the front and center of the American psyche today. We yet cannot get away from those things. They ensured that a generation of Americans grew up, those who are today roughly between the ages of 22 and 35, cognizant of the ability of the United States to do harm on a global scale. Or if you're not so pessimistic about those foreign wars, you have to certainly admit that our involvement in them at the very least forced the recognition of the possibility of anti-American sentiment across the globe, for better or for worse. There were other happenings too. One I want to stress are the income tax cuts of 2001 and 2003, which benefited the wealthy. Compounded with the public perception that our Middle Eastern wars tremendously helped big oil companies, these cuts drove the narrative that corporations and the rich and powerful were benefiting in a country where people were being sent off to fight in foreign wars. Out of this milieu came American Idiot, an album that strikes at the Bush administration and the giant corporations that Green Day saw as benefiting from Bush's policies. It does this from its very first lines. The album's title track, which you just heard, targets the media. It may seem kind of strange hearing a critique of the mainstream media come from a decisively leftist point of view, but in 2004, mainstream media faced constant accusations of being pro-war. Contra accusations of the media's anti-Trump fake news in 2020, in 2004, media outlets like Fox News and CBS were accused of being too hawkish in foreign affairs. A 2003 report by Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting found that pro-war coverage was far more likely than anti-war coverage. It was in this landscape that Billy Joe Armstrong wrote lines like, "I'm not a part of the redneck agenda, now everybody do the propaganda," and called the US one nation controlled by the media. But the song American Idiot is more subtle than that, too. Merely placing the two words of the title, American and idiot, in juxtaposition deflates the patriotic fervor concomitant with pro-war discourse. Was being American being idiotic? The proliferation of the album and song's title meant that those two words were coupled even for those who refused to listen to Green Day. Thus, even the title American Idiot reiterated the existential crisis of those skeptical of the Iraq War. If American Idiot takes aim and fires at the media, Holiday, the album's third song, crucifies big business. Declaring that the company lost the war today, Holiday reiterates Green Day's contention that corporations are intricately tied up with the nation's foreign conflicts. Just like in the opening track, we're forced to reverse our conception of a particular signifier. Holiday sounds are turned on their head. Christmas carols and Easter hymns are replaced by the sound of the falling rain, coming down like an Armageddon flame, and the drum pounding out of time. Billie Joe's vocals on the Representative from California section paint a particularly menacing picture of political corruption and immorality. Just listen to it. Here it is. I actually want to single in on a particular image from this song, one that suggests, surprisingly, an anti-military tinge to the entire album. This is the part where Billie Joe Armstrong in Holiday says, "Can I get another amen? There's a flag wrapped around a score of men. A gag, a plastic bag on a monument." There's a lot going on here, but the flag referred to is almost certainly the flag placed over the head of the Saddam Hussein statue in Baghdad's Firdosh Square right before that statue was very famously brought down in April 2003. For those of a certain stripe, this was the perfect image in service of the righteous cause in Iraq. The world's finest symbol of liberty, freedom, and goodness, literally blinding the tyrant who had terrorized the region with an authoritarian fist. But Green Day takes another tack, using appositives to compare the flag to a gag and a plastic bag. The flag's usual sacredness is debased in the lyrics' comparison. The former comparison, especially making the flag a gag, makes the flag a stopper of free speech, not its guarantor. The fact that flag, gag, and bag all rhyme produces a mockery out of orderliness. The discipline of words that make sense together gets made fun of, reminiscent more of the kind of blind obedience decried by the military's greatest critics. But is Green Day entirely anti-military? This mockery of the army gets edited, or perhaps clarified, in the video for what is perhaps the album's most enduring staple, Billie Joe Armstrong's tribute to his late father. Wake Me Up When September Ends. If Green Day really hated the army, why would they make a mostly sympathetic video about a man who goes off to fight in the aforementioned wars? I think one way to answer is to make a differentiation between being anti-military and being anti-soldiers. Some people would say that these two positions are inextricable, but Green Day, I think, goes otherwise, gearing their ire almost primarily towards the systematic military as a whole, represented by the elite classes that wage war and the generals who allow ordinary infantry soldiers to fight their battles. One of those soldiers is the protagonist of the video for Wake Me Up When September Ends. A sentimental story about a man who leaves his girlfriend behind at home while fighting in one of the wars mentioned earlier. Notably, the shots here do not give screen time to the powers that be. With delicacy, the video aims to tell the story of a single soldier. I think the fact that we don't know which particular Middle Eastern country he's in is key. I mean, you could say that it's just Americans not really distinguishing between the different Middle Eastern countries anyway, but I would say that the war here really isn't the focus. The event isn't the highlight. What Green Day cares about are the regular Americans serving as troops. The video from start to finish is littered with close-ups of faces, particularly the two main characters, underscoring the scale of Green Day's interests. These, they seem to be saying, are the lives affected, the lives traumatized, the lives lost, the lives for which we take aim at the politicians and the corporations with our other songs. I want now to turn to how I think American Idiot gets at the feeling of being alive in the Bush era without being explicitly political. Or rather, I want to get at why I think Green Day resonates so clearly with those who are coming of age in 2004. A good place to start is actually the conversation at the beginning of the Wake Me Up When September Ends video. Sitting in a field, again with those close-ups, the couple deploys a bunch of the usual adolescent angst. They say that life is short, that if they could have anything it'd be to stop time, to never grow old. This is of course at the root of their huge disagreement when the man chooses to enlist. He has, by joining the military, done something that will shorten his life even further, that will undoubtedly grow him up. The desire, expressed by the adolescents for time to slow down, is made ironic. Because while the man is at war, time, as we see, goes by so slowly for the girl left at home. Time goes slowly in the worst possible way. Many songs and books have been written about the problem of growing up, but not many have, I think, so actively captivated our imaginations like American Idiot. And what I think Green Day does so well is let us know that they, too, are going through this problem. Something that those of you in your teens don't know is that most people still haven't figured things out, haven't figured themselves out, in their mid or late 20s. Increasingly, people of this age struggle with finding a permanent career or a steady relationship. Put another way, at 25, it is no longer cute to say that life is hitting you hard. You must, in other words, confront your mediocrity and your sins. Those who grew up with Green Day may quite truly resonate with the aimless, tired characters of the album's plot. Jesus of Suburbia, St. Jimmy, what's her name? How, in this period of life, do you deal? This is, I think, Green Day's interest. At the time, the three band members, Billie Joe Armstrong, Mike Dirnt, and Tré Cool, were all in their early 30s when the album was recorded. Rock stars grow up even slower than most people, and we know that, at the time, Green Day was considering breaking up. Their quarter-life crisis was upon them right as they were reeling a little bit in their careers, 4 years out from Warning and 10 years away from their major label debut Dookie. In the midst of this, it would have been easy for Green Day to offer a half-hearted, low-effort compilation album, something they did, by the way, twice before. But what they came up with instead, in 2004, was this masterpiece, a surging, sprawling, fantastic rock opera full of thoughtful songs, capped off by Homecoming, my personal favorite song on the album. To end this video, I want to argue that Homecoming offers an antidote to the problems posed by this album, right in the very name of the song. What is vital is coming home, coming back to what you have known. But, on the other hand, the lyrics are quite bleak. St. Jimmy, it seems, has killed himself, and one part of the song is simply about stating that nobody cares. Where is the homecoming in the song Homecoming? My answer is in the form of the song. As I mentioned, declining success had weighed on the band members, but for Homecoming, everyone contributed a section of the song. I love this song in spite of being relatively sure that the Mike Dirnt and Tré Cool sections of the song are just plain bad. In and of themselves, they feel more like the band members fucking around than actual attempts at music. Compounded onto this is the collage-like structure of the whole thing. What are these trips doing amidst Billie Joe's brilliant sections? Wouldn't the song be better without them? It may have. But if it had, it may have also killed Green Day. The compilation, the collage, it was all vital in keeping the band together, in making everyone feel as valued as they actually were. And it was about showing the world that unity, that Green Day was, in the end, playing for themselves and for their love of music. In other words, Green Day, amidst the loneliness, alienation, and anger spurred on by the wars in the Middle East and the corporate corruption of Bush's first term, found solace in each other, their old friends, their music, and they offered us the wondrous, beautiful fruits of that realization. Thank you for listening, and if you'd like to see more videos of this kind, please subscribe to the channel. We'll be coming up with more videos soon.